Somewhere he has to go. No, he has some event with his kids. So I wanted to start with the ATV. We had a meeting recently with Park and Rec and with Chief Boomar, and the subject of the ATV that was given to the police department. And there was discussion between Craig and Jim about Park and Rec using that, because the police use it 3 or 4 times a year. And the chief said as long as the person that gave them the ATV was okay with Park and Rec using it on a daily basis. The chief had no problem with it. Craig, you contacted the owner?
Yes, Darlene, yes.
Yeah, from Arc Master down there. And she said absolutely no problem.
Correct.
So because the thought process was, because Park and Rec would be using it on a daily basis, it would make sense for us to transfer the insurance to, wait, how did we decide that? What did we think we needed to do, Lane?
You've got it. As far as the insurance goes, they have to pick up the insurance regardless. As far as the title goes, it's probably cleaner if you transfer the title, only because then, in the event there's an issue, the city has no liability. The only thing we need is make sure of agreement that we can use those vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, and Craig and Chief agreed that when the police need it, they'll use it, but the thought process was that then Park and Rec would use it on a daily basis as opposed to it being used 3 or 4 times a year. And Darlene was thrilled to have it be used more frequently, and I thought I think there was some discussion too that you guys could actually not control, but you would be actually in areas that you can't necessarily get to.
Well, yes, it would actually give us easier access to get back up on Cardinal Park instead of taking actually a vehicle up there. So.
And so I know, Christine, you had suggested that maybe we know what they were going to use it for, so that's why I asked Greg to know. So can you kind of explain to us?
Yeah, pretty much like you said, Rosie, we're going to use it for day-to-day operations, for weed whacking, push mowing, and then to patrol Creekside Path. Also allow us to be a little safer environment. We're just going to be using it down at Legion Keener Park instead of sometimes using the dump with a pickup truck. We could actually just use the ATV, so we don't actually have to drive a truck down into the park, especially when people are at playland or anything like that. So, but we would be using it daily.
How would you transfer it to Cardinal Park?
We're just going to use it for Legion Keener.
You said Carter.
I
said Carter.
Okay, I misspoke.
Same thing with you, Jack.
Yeah, I just misspoke. It's all going to be down at Legion Keener Park. So.
Would you see a problem housing downstairs in the fire department? And that way, if there's any type of emergency where the fire department would need it, or police department, it would be a centralized area?
Well, we're going to be using it every day, so that means
So you're going to house it down there?
we would house it down there.
I guess that was one of my questions, like immediately when I heard that it was purchased for the police, I thought, well, wow, if we have an emergency in the woods or somewhere where they need it and it's already, getting older, right, didn't use so much.
No, it's not. That's the problem. It's not. Oh, you mean once they start?
Yeah, once they start using it every day, it's just going to take life off of it, and you'd have to make sure that it was always filled with gas and ready to go in case they would need it. That's my concern. I could see the police saying, okay, we've got an emergency, we need this quad, they go to get it and it's empty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something's wrong with it and they didn't tell anybody. That would be my concern.
Yeah, that wouldn't be happening. Jim McDowell does a great job since he's taken over with our machines, daily maintenance. So if you had any concerns about that, if the city would say, hey, here's our specifications, he would meet those for you.
I mean, I don't know the people that you have doing things. That was the first thing that popped into my head.
Correct.
And I don't think, Chief, you had any concerns with that, correct?
The ATV is like 15 years old. Probably doesn't have a whole lot of left in it.
So it's not
It sits down there and within 2 months, if it's not used, it has flat tires and a dead battery, and it probably would last a little bit longer if it was used more. We just don't have the manpower. If you get down on the path or down at Creekside with that running, you can't hear the radio, so somebody's trying to call you. And usually we're running 2 guys on a shift. You don't want one guy down on, out somewhere on the ATV and another guy, getting in an incident. I don't have a problem with it. My main concern was Darlene, she donated it 15 years ago. If she had a problem with it, I wouldn't agree to it, but, she wants to see it used too.
Any other questions for Craig? We have to vote on that next month?
Next, yeah.
Okay.
Because there'll be an agreement, and you have to authorize the agreement.
What I would suggest is a resolution authorizing transfer of title on condition that they assume the liability insurance and execute a very basic shared use agreement.
Okay. Julie, we were talking about the park and rec using it. Yeah. Transferring the title to the park and rec. Okay. If no one has any more questions for Craig, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
have to get them to do.
All right, next on the hip parade is 2 handicap parking spots for the Holy Family Church. They've asked for 2 handicap spots. If you look at my map, there's a couple X's there on Walnut Street. That's kind of the area they want to have them by their door. I believe that's where.
I was thinking more on Ligonier Street.
They have to on Walnut.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked to the priest.
Why you talk to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care. I mean,
No,
you can verify.
Aren't there 2 right there by the ramp?
Yeah, but that's where you go into church now. There used to be 2 in the back of the cafeteria where it was all a ramp straight into the church.
Okay. So,
So you're thinking, I mean, he was saying Walnut, but maybe.
Okay.
No, I
had thought about on Ligonier Street
Ligonier.
because there's no parking there, but that's,
that's something.
nobody goes in the front door anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's only temporary till we're back.
oh, this is for the downstairs.
If you put it on Ligonier Street, where, they'd have to go around onto Walnut to get to the ramp still?
Yeah.
Is that the only ramp?
Yeah.
But you're trying to get them down the basement now, right?
Yeah. But, it's one or the other.
Yeah, I mean,
It really doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters. I mean, I don't think as far as, Jim, you don't see any issue either way, do you?
Well, I feel that with the amount of activity at that church and the size of the congregation, the funerals, and things like that, I don't want to.
Why don't you just take this and confirm with Father Dan that these are where he wants them, and then...
Can I finish, Rosie?
I'm sorry, but we're done. Sorry.
I think with the size of the congregation, the amount of activity, that 2 handicap spaces is not as accommodating as it should be. I mean, you need 4 would be more accommodating, just for the mere fact of the activity that goes on there almost every day.
But they already have
2.
to. Yeah, so 2
I
more.
said 2 does not really accommodate when they have a big funeral or a wedding or their activities in the basement. I think with the size, it wouldn't, it's not gonna hurt anything. It's not gonna take away parking for, it's a high parking place for businesses, or it's kind of out of the way a little bit. Mr. Esposito's no longer there, so we won't have that complaint. So I believe it would be a wise choice.
I think the only question is where, because the thing of it is that there's already 2 on Walnut, and if you did 2 more there, well, then that affects like people like, say, for example, my mom, who doesn't have a handicap plate, but would want to park somewhat close.
I wouldn't suggest 4.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
No,
Because
well,
you want those intermediate
You want to go around the
people
corner,
to
don't
be-
you, Jerry, and look in here?
Yeah, that's
where
where I
I thought the
thought.
plan was.
Because there's no parking there right now.
Right.
And I figured that was more or less so that they could,
Have to
Yeah,
go.
because that's where they used to have the hearse parking and the funeral parking, and now they don't do that anymore.
Normally what happens is that the applicant sends us a little note, tells us where they want it and where they, if the priest could do that, then that way we remove any confusion. Because I've been talking to him today, it was Walnut Street, but maybe he really meant, you know.
Talk to Jerry and then get back to Wayne.
Just give me a note
If he
what
says
he wants.
Walnut, I would discourage that. Because that's not,
Doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense, and that's not fair to the people.
Yeah, Jerry, I
that are-
wouldn't suggest 4 in a row, but if you like to wrap it around, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'd recommend it.
Are there any handicap in the lot by the rectory?
Yeah, but that was before when there were no steps to get in the
Right.
church. Now you'd have to go down.
Right, yeah, no, I was just,
Whatever they want.
I think we all agree that 4 is fine. We just need to know where the other 2 need to go.
All right, the next one is a Mary Street property update. The property is going to be transferred over to the investment company that's buying those homes on Mary Street during March. It's just kind of an update. They're going to probably start demolition in July. So that leads into the next thing, which is CDB changes in road paving. Because originally we were going to pave Mary Street. And it doesn't make any sense, we talked to the people at the county, it doesn't make any sense to pave something and have these huge pieces of equipment tear it up again. So, Mike, as a suggestion.
Yeah, well, we're going to do, in exchange for Mary Street and a couple other streets we had outlined for CDBG paving, we're going to put East First Avenue on the list to be paved and also South Center Street. And those 2 would be, if they are approved for funding, they will be paved under the CDBG grant money for this year.
I thought, who ripped the street out? Who ripped First Avenue out? The gas company?
That was the water company. Yeah.
And they're not,
No, they're responsible for their cutouts.
they're not.
They're not going to pave the whole street. The whole street, what was going on initially with that street is last year, they were supposed to have a water line in prior to tar and chip. And we were going to tar and chip that street along with the other streets up in the north side. They got held up for putting the water line in, and they put it in at the last moment at the end of the year. Now, the street is in poor condition right now, just the fact that the asphalt plant's closed when they were putting in the water line. So there's just coal patch in there now. The whole street needs milled. It's in very poor shape. So that was one of the main things. If we can eliminate some of the other streets that were unnecessary right now under CDBG, we put it under and hopefully get approved for it, which looks good, but they have to wait for HUD to approve all the financial aspects of it. So once that gets approved, probably mid to June, we'll get the okay, and we're definitely going to be able to get that paved this year if everyone agrees upon it.
That the whole way down to 10?
Yes, yes. And South Center is the other street by Latrobe Steel Railroad tracks. If you're coming into town on Ligonier Street, it's going to be your first left. And, that's going to go the whole way from Ligonier to Levine Street. So those 2 streets right there cost about $100,000 to pave those 2. Now with the other paving underneath my budget for the city, I plan on working with the gas company to get Main Street paved from Sylvan to Derry Township, Hamilton from Main Street to Chestnut, and Chestnut Street from Sylvan to Derry Township. So what I'm doing is trying to work with the gas company because they redid or put a new line in on Main Street in Hamilton. So waiting to see how much they're going to contribute towards the paving of those areas. So those are the possible areas for paving this year.
All right, next on the list is the medical marijuana ordinance.
This is just a PSA that we're going to be having the hearing before our next meeting to address the medical marijuana ordinance update to our zoning code. So stay tuned.
All right, we have Zach brought up, we have a $200,000 line of credit that Jim used to do every year for commercial bank. We don't need the line of credit. Council has to make a motion at the next meeting, but I'd like to close that out.
I don't think we ever used it.
Jim, but it was easier than doing it, and Jim liked doing it. Dan has a tax anticipation of it, and a lot of municipalities use that as the way to get from January to April when real estate money starts coming in. So Jim would get a line of credit, we never used it anyway. Not that I'm worried about anyway. All right, this is just an FYI, much just like Mary Street. Pansy Bakery was sold to Delphi by Land Bank, and Pansy Bakery, that was on 509 Ligonier Street.
It's an empty spot, right?
It's commercial property and it's gone to a non-profit, but it's a small lot and there wasn't a whole lot of parking anyway, so.
I wonder what they're like. In the middle of nowhere.
They bought it for a month.
A buck. Commercial property for a buck.
A buck.
A lot.
Yeah, a buck.
$1.
God, shit.
I just reported. And like I said, it is it's a lot, it's not really, it worked out with the bakery, but it's not really, it has almost no parking. I mean, it's not if either one of the neighbors next door to mine it had been okay parking for their apartment, they only had one way in and the same way out. So it was a limited lot. But it's just commercial, it was commercial amounts to be, non-profit. So, don't let them.
I bet you they were offered it for a buck, they was.
Yeah.
I can't say that. I don't know. I would think a lot of people would buy it for a buck, but
How did they get that for a buck?
I'd have to take, I'll talk to April. April Cook was in a group handles it. That's land bank property. It's not a property owned by the city.
The land bank's paid to tear it down, correct?
Right. Yeah, originally, and that was kind of an odd thing because initially the roof was attached and actually part of the other building. So they had to come in and cut it, and they had to actually repair that.
It doesn't serve their purposes to sell it for a buck either, because they're trying to recoup some of the money that they
Yeah.
spent. So my guess would be that they tried to sell it.
Yeah, they wouldn't sell it for $1 to a nonprofit. That's not going to generate tax revenue unless, I'm assuming, unless it was their only option.
Yeah, again, I don't know these are the places wanted to let people know.
Could we find out the details?
Yeah, we get
I can ask, that's not a question, but I can ask because of the fact that this is just kind of FYI.
Yeah, we can ask.
Please.
All right, last on the list is, Jim Bumar asked to put on how complaints are being reported. That's Jim's thing.
Yeah, it's very important that when anybody comes to you with a complaint, that it's taken to 911. Several years ago, when we had our own dispatchers, it was a whole different story. Everything was recorded down here, and the dispatchers were trained, and they put the complaints out. We get complaints now by email to specific officers who may be off a week and not get to that. I'm in and out of the office. I don't just sit in there all day. I do go out and patrol. So sometimes I may not get onto my email till late in the afternoon. Beth is in and out of the office a lot. She runs to the lab. She also runs to the magistrate a couple times a day with all the paperwork. So it's real important that anybody that comes to you with a complaint, if it's not a pressing issue, you can come down and talk to one of the girls and tell them you want to see an officer or have an officer call you. But it's really troublesome now in the office too because we don't have Pam. She had the accident. We only have Karen learning Pam's job now and a new girl. So it's not fair to them if somebody calls down and reports it. Then they have to get on the phone and call 911 to track down an officer. The system is set up for 911. We went over this years ago when we gave up our dispatchers to go to 911 because the police really weren't for it because it was so specialized with our own dispatchers. You could come in, the place was open 24/7. The dispatcher would write down what you would call in at City Hall, and the officer on duty that give it to him that shift. It's not set up for that anymore. So what happens is a breakdown of communication. A complaint may be given to Beth. Beth might be off the next day. It might sit on her computer or on her notepad, or I might get something that needs to be addressed first thing in the morning on my email. Sometimes I don't check it first thing in the morning. If I come in and there's an accident where the midnight needs relieved, I run out and help till we get things situated. Usually I get sidetracked by the time it's in the afternoon. I may miss a call that, well, so-and-so's coming through town with drugs at 9 o'clock. You call 911. If you don't want to give the information or don't want to give your name, you don't have to. If you don't want to give the information about the incident, tell them you want to talk to an officer. But the advantage to 911 is that it's all recorded. It's recorded and it's documented. So if my officer doesn't answer that call, he has to answer to me, and then there's a problem. I can't discipline an officer that says, well, it was on my email and I was off Tuesday and I just got it and it's 2 days later. So please, if you have complaints or somebody comes to you with complaints, call 911. I know a lot of people say, well, it's not an emergency. Well, everything goes through 911. Everybody, is getting onto it. Now, we rarely get calls at City Hall, but when we do, there's a lot of communication breakdown. So I just ask council that when you get complaints, either you call 911 and refer the complainant to an officer, if they want to speak to an officer, or the complaint goes right to 911. I just would be able to guarantee a much better paper trail, a much better documentation, and it's going to benefit the complainant, and it's going to benefit you as a council, because they're not going to come back to you and say, the police never did anything. Well, they might not even have got the complaint yet. So please understand what's going on in the office down there. Please understand how our system's set up. There's a protocol, and it is through 911. I really appreciate it if you could help me out.
I think there's a misconception, because I think there's a misconception out there that 911 is exactly what you said for emergencies. So I think clarifying that for the public is really good, to understand that if they have a complaint that they want an officer to investigate or follow up on, that they should call 911.
And when you think about the building being closed at 4 o'clock, I mean, you got officers out. If you're calling down here, you're only going to get an answering machine anyway. And right now we're in the process of new phones, so that's been a snafu for the last week of trying to get messages and setting up voicemails. So there could be a complaint that came in a week ago that we still haven't even, it's just out there somewhere.
Can you have call forwarding set up so it goes to voicemail, it goes right to 911?
I don't know if they can accept the call for it. They should be able to. They had the thing down at the park where it was just a hotline. So
Yeah, I'd look into that might help.
that's something to look into. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Eric, did you have a question for him?
You were asking the same thing. I mean, same thing about our complaint, the final complaint, but I think he's addressed that thing.
Is that it?
That's one of the
What do you guys got? Guys and gals, anything?
Yeah, how we, every month we go through committees and we give reports. Could we start getting reports on like meetings that are held out of council? If they have anything to do with the city, they can be brought back to council.
Sure, we can do that.
That way council's aware of what's going on.
It'd be nice to have some committee reports, though.
Be nice to have some board authority reports too.
Yeah, I'd say.
Well, you didn't ask about the parking authority, but the parking authority was still waiting for the state to get that final approval. So that's on the committee. And we just had the public safety meeting today, so.
We had an aspect meeting last week.
We had the split meeting last week, that's right.
How'd that go?
Yeah. Another one scheduled for the 22nd. I don't know where it's at yet.
It's, they didn't answer yet, but it might be
WCC.
WCC.
So it'll come to Frankfurt.
They don't want to have to hear that.
I have one thing. Did anybody notice the Jacobs house on Ridge Avenue and James Street?
Yes.
Oh,
I was shocked when I come down there the
I
other
didn't see that.
day.
yeah.
It's beautiful, it's amazing.
Familiar?
Yeah,
It's like,
I remember when it was bad.
oh, yeah.
Who's
I-
fixing it up?
I forget, it's some kind of corporation. I think he must do it. I'm sure he put a few bucks into it.
Yeah, it really looks nice.
But it does, it looks real nice.
That house
Right on
where the
that.
porch o'clock, right on South and Snoka.
Yeah.
Nobody has anything else. The only thing that I want to mention is March 5th through 11th is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. It's a week that's dedicated to raising awareness for multiple sclerosis. I was going to do a proclamation, but by the time I do the proclamation, it'll be over. So no point in doing that. So I just wanted to mention to everyone that keep that in mind. Anybody else got anything? See everybody on the, 13th?